the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Well, it's election season back again. We're seeing the the second round of elections post-COVID, but this is going to be a very fiercely fought battle, especially the battle for Bengal. And of course, joining me on the roundtable to discuss not just what is happening, but also the larger ramifications on national politics. I have a panel of experts. We have Suhail Seth. He's a commentator, columnist. He's a very famous face on television and also a marketing maven. Sandeep Ghosh, he's a political analyst and an op-ed writer. Rashid Kidwai, author of 24 Akbar Road and a political commentator. Nistula Hebbar, she is the political editor at The Hindu. Suhail, a battle of personalities, and that's really where you come in, analyzing the campaigns, the personalities. But first, I really want to talk to you about the latest, what just happened recently. The attack on Mamata Banerjee and how it was handled by the opposition, the political, I won't say marketing fallout, the political fallout of that.
The BJP must understand that Bengal is not Haryana or Punjab or Rajasthan. There's a certain civility amongst us Bengalis. I mean, I always call myself a Bengali. What would have been really remarkable would have been a message from the Prime Minister, a phone call inquiring about her health. Forget anything else. She may be your political rival in an election, but she's the sitting Chief Minister of a state belonging to the Union of India. Number two, Swapan Dasgupta's facetious tweet saying, I'm wishing her well for a foot injury. Again, you're trying to minimize something and you're playing exactly into the hands of Mamata Banerjee. Mamata Banerjee knows how to play victim better than Modi Shah would ever realize. She is the master of the game. Remember, she got rid of the communists, making a big shindig after they attacked her in Esplanade and lathis were kind of blown on her skull. I genuinely believe that the BJP could have used this as an opportunity, not only to win favor or win empathy, but to establish themselves as a party which is not this North Indian male aggressive party, but in the same genre of civility of Bengal, and they lost that opportunity. The second part of your question, or the first part perhaps, who's going to win? It's a battle of personalities. The whole thing about daughter of Bengal, that's an interesting bit. If you see, Modi has the knack and the ability to helicopter himself into every state, and he's the mascot, the Mukhota of the electoral battle per se. Here, he's against a formidable woman, a woman who has given her life to Bengal. Whether you like her or don't like her, the one thing you cannot say is that she doesn't have her heart in the right place. She will fight tooth and nail. They have used every means of discrediting her. They have used means fair and foul of enabling her to lose some of her key lieutenants. But I don't know what will happen. Nistula, Sandeep, Rashid are here. They're better and more wise than I am in terms of what will happen in the elections. But I don't think it's an unequal battle. She is an equal as far as Modi is concerned. Modi may bring his nationalism and his 56-inch chest, but she brings her experience and the ability to spin things as well as Amit Shah and Modi can do.
In fact, as I was reading in the open, there's been no local election since 2014, really. It's been a Modi versus whoever. But this time, I think, in that sense, a regional leader is going to give Modi one of the toughest fights he's had ever since he's taken power. Sandeep, your first reaction to actually what happened with Mamata and how it was handled by the BJP and the others? And will she gain some?
Yesterday, since last evening, we have had a lot of footages which have come in. So one part is the incident, which seems very clear now. It was an accident. It was not, as I've been saying, that it was not, it couldn't have been deliberately engineered by BJP. Neither could have, Mamata Banerjee's side or Trinamool could have, done something stage managed to gain sympathy. So that's one part. But as Suhail says, today we live in the world of post-truth. And how things are handled now, what perception, what spin takes place, that is key. And that's where I think BJP has to understand the psyche of Bengal. And I, for example, tweeted this morning, though nobody needs to listen to me, I think they should probably suspend campaigning for 48 hours or 24 hours till she's okay to find out exactly what's happened. They should not do the kind of fanfare they're planning to do in Nandigram. They were having Dharmendra Pradhan, Smriti Irani, everybody going there. And I'm sure they would have train their guns at Mamta while filing a nomination. Those things, I think, are better held in check. Now, as far as Mamta Banerjee and but the Trinamool side, they also should not overplay it. Priya, what has changed? Rashid used the term yesterday, oh, this could be a Rajiv Gandhi moment. People feeling that way, or some other people tweeted reminding of Andhi and in the Suchitra Sen moving around with the bandage on her head, etc. Now that, I think we are also past that era, because there are hundreds of mobile cameras. Whatever you want to spin, there are so many mobile cameras, so many people today having the opportunity to speak on video. So that story also will not boil. So that's one part of the thing. Secondly, coming back to Mamta Banerjee, I will again use this opportunity to my patented term to say that Mamta Banerjee is invincible, but unfortunately Trinamool is not invincible anymore. And Trinamool is no longer just Mamta Banerjee. I totally agree with Suhail, and this I've written, that Mamta Banerjee has a Teflon coating in Bengal, just like Modi probably has all over India or other parts of India. So nothing really touches her. So even here, that would have been the case. In the last election, 2016, Mamta Banerjee could sway the electorate by saying that we made mistakes, etc. But trust me, you're voting only for me, and we'll set it right. But now what has happened is, Nandigram, for example. Well, Mamta will never be an outsider there. She will never be an outsider in any constituency in Bengal. But what has happened in Nandigram, the ground workers have all moved with Shubhendu. And Shubhendu's family have a hold over there, which is also non-political. They have a lot of business interests. A lot of people are, their purse strings are tied to them. Now, the people will Mamta have to bring in there to work on the ground. They will be outsiders. Okay, and that's the challenge she will face. If you see her candidates, which she has positioned this time, BJP has an edge because BJP has actually been able to feel people from the ground in those areas, especially the Adivasi areas, the scheduled caste, the reserve constituencies, etc., whereas she had to import. That is where the issue lies. The anti-incumbency will be at the ground level, not at her level. So today when she says all 200 constituencies treat as if you're voting for me, Ala Modi said that, button press karo, jahan bhi vote seedha Modi ke paas chala aayega. That, may not cut so much, because she has also, rightly or wrongly, in the last 5 years, she has shown that she probably doesn't have the same control over the party as she used to have earlier. And whether we like it or not, people believe there are alternative power centers which have grown. So that level of trust, I think there is a question. But all said, it is not an unequal battle. BJP is, for them, is a now or never. So they are putting every resource on the ground. So they have to give it a shot. But for her,
stakes are as high for Mamta and the BJP. And, Rashid, the opinion polls so far have shown that whether we buy them or not, are they right or wrong, but they're showing the Mamta has the edge. What Sandeep says, can we differentiate between Mamta and TMC?
No, I don't think so. I think, Priya, we have to apply one set of rules. When we say that, Modi's popularity rating have an impact, and this is, it can be proved. You look at Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan result, assembly result, and you see the Lok Sabha result. So there was a drastic difference. What was the difference? Political parties were the same, but it was Modi factor. When people were voting for parliament, so they voted for Modi, even in these states where Congress had won handsomely in that election. All opinion poll surveys are showing Mamta Banerjee's popularity rating is 50% and more. So I think this is something that is going to be, determined whether this will translate into votes or not. I think if it translates for Modi, it will translate for Mamta also. Very interestingly, even in Kerala, okay, Rahul Gandhi's ratings are 55%, 56%. Will it translate into votes? I think we have to, wait till May 2nd. So these elections are not ordinary elections. These elections will tell you, because these elections are, taking place in states which are non-Hindi speaking, all 5 of them. And, and Mr. Modi is not a candidate in any of these places. So I think the outcome is going to be far more interesting than, what we assume or what poll surveys are showing.
The BJP side, in Bengal, Amit Shah has been working on this since Lok Sabha got over. Are they hopeful? What is the feedback from that camp?
Well, They're, of course, working very hard. On the face of it, they keep saying we're going to get more than 200 seats. But yes, internal assessments are far more sober and pragmatic. They are hoping that when Mr. Modi gets fully into the campaign, they will be able to lift the campaign a little bit more. This particular hiccup that happened with this, injury to Mamata Banerjee, it will have to kind of, it will force the BJP also to kind of relook at the way that it's been doing things, because currently it is the challenger. And they always paint themselves as the victims of political violence. The violence has been directed to them, and that they have been standing firm. They're the only oppositional force in the state that can take on the TMC. So that's what they had been banking on. So they can't be suddenly cast into the light of being a very aggressive sort of party, which is capable of physically attacking the chief minister, who's also home minister. So they'll have to kind of relook at the campaign, which is always a little problematic. I remember in the 2019 elections, we had gone to meet Mr. Shah, and I had gone to interview him, and I spent quite a lot of time traveling. He was traveling via Madhya Pradesh, one of the later stages of the election. So I asked him, how do you, whatever. He said, the best thing about these elections is till now we have not been forced to change whatever we had planned as a campaign strategy at the beginning. So, so nothing happened which forced them to veer away from whatever they had planned and, calculated on. This incident, the importance of this incident is that it will lead to a recalibration. It will have to lead to a slightly recalibrated thing, that you are not being looked at as a victim. You may not be perceived as a victim anymore, as the oppositional force in that state. You're a party which is in power in many states and in the center. And currently there's a model code of conduct there. So, it's all, equal on the ground. And so I agree partly with what Sandeep had said, that, they'll have to, they could have probably suspended their campaign for 48 hours. And this kind of carping tone that you take in the case of an injury to a political rival, you may not be convinced. You may think that she's faking it. But the carping tone doesn't help anybody. It's very unseemly. It doesn't go down well when somebody hears it, whoever, people may not like Mamata Banerjee. Even the people who may not like her may say that, look, whatever it is, her injuries are real. You may squabble over the way she got it. So some amount of sympathy or something would not have gone amiss, would have probably added something to the BJP's image in the state.
Just to Mamata's image, Sohail, the opposition lacks a face, and Mamata is really the only one who's been, at least, as you said, making this an equal battle. Do you see a scope beyond Bengal for her?
I don't think so, because what they've managed to do is they've managed to almost sequester her and confine her to Bengal. They've kept her so busy. And when I say they, I mean the BJP and Modi and Amit Shah. I want to take off from where we're still left. There are three issues. And I'm from Bengal, and I was there when Singur happened, and the post-Singur scenario when we had to remove our Tata Nano factory and move it to Sanat. At that point in time, Dinesh Trivedi and I were supposed to have a meeting where we were supposed to discuss an honorable exit. Not that I was representing the Tatas, but this meeting was held in Trivandrum. Dinesh Trivedi is witness to this. All I told him was, I am saying this to you as a son of Bengal. If the Tatas leave, to get industry back will be an arduous, if not impossible task. That's what's happened. You still don't have an industrialized Bengal as it used to be. That's number one. Number two, people are getting tired of her rhetoric of Ami Bangali, Ami Bangal, a beti or whatever. People are getting tired. People want food on their plate. People want jobs. The migration out of Bengal is unreal. It's never happened before. And I think Rashid or Sandeep said that you could have said this in the last election, but you can't keep this as your recurring narrative. The most important and the most interesting thing is Bengal, unlike any other state, handles elections at two levels, the physical and the cerebral. By physical, I mean booth management, feet on the ground, blah, blah, blah. Cerebral, in way they kind of introduce the spin. So you haven't heard the last of this injury from Mamata Banerjee. You haven't heard, or you can't even imagine how she's going to spin it. And the first spin she's going to do is, Jodi era amage korte parto, which means if they could do this to me, can you imagine what they will do to the women of Bengal if they come to power? And I'd said this in my opening remarks, and I will say this again. The BJP could have won this battle of yesterday so easily without much ado. All it required was a phone call from the Prime Minister inquiring about her health. Suspension and all, that's giving BJP too much of credit for compassion and empathy. But one phone call from Amit Shah. These are very important things. Elections primarily are won by optics. They're not won on real issues. If they were won on real issues, Modi shouldn't have been re-elected. I mean, for God's sake. So, if the optics is what you have to go by, then we need better ophthalmologists in the BJP, because currently the people they have who are passing snide remarks, who are passing comments saying, oh, kichu hoini, oh, nothing has happened, it's an accident. The issue is not how it was caused. The issue is, do you feel for an injured human being or not? That too, who's a sitting chief minister.
Priya, I'll just cut in for a second here. Though I will reserve my comments on what Modi has done or not, because what I remember, when Sonia Gandhi, in very similar circumstances in a roadshow in Varanasi, she fell ill. She was not injured. He actually not only called her, he offered help, etc., and which got to be known later. When he does this sort of a thing, he doesn't always publicize it straight away. But later on, it came to be known. So we don't know what he has done or not done. Yeah.
But he should have, it's smarter to publicize this now rather than to publicize it after the elections. Now, then you might as well not say anything.
And he is the master communicator. Yeah. I'm going to take a break and come back. So, Sandeep, I'll come back to you, but after a quick break.
Vaccines all over the world. We can't pick up the phone and ask about an injured chief minister. That's a bit rich.
I tend to agree with Suhail on that. Sandeep, you wanted to say something before we end?
No, I was basically saying Modi may have done something, and he's also a master of timing. It may come out, but I'm just guessing what he would have done. Jagdeep Dhankar went yesterday.
Later, would it be an afterthought? I don't know. Maybe.
No, I see. That is what I'm saying. He's a master of timing. You have to leave it to him as to how he has done it or not done it. Ultimately, he'll listen to Suhail and may do it today in some form or the other. So I leave it there.
My dog doesn't listen to me, so I mean, that would be.
But what I will add now to since Suhail had raised this topic about the cerebral and the muscular, and this is somewhere I'll take a little liberty of telling a friend like Rashid. Bengal elections have been won, as I say, change of power has always been won with lumpens moving from one camp to the other. What we call in Bengali, jersey badal. Jersey is the football jersey. So typically when you're talking of Khela, so it happened from the left to the Congress, Indira Congress, and from there back to the left. I'm talking the ultra left to Indira Congress, and then to left, and then to Mamata. It's the same set of people. So until you are going to have economic change, this is one big, industry in Bengal. So they will even move to BJP. And that is what BJP has succeeded to some extent by the, inductions they have made in the form of Mukul Roy and now Shubhendu Adhikari, and also a lot of these people have moved. So I personally think the key, I'm jumping the queue here, still lies in South Bengal, where BJP has not been able to penetrate, and that remains a very strong bastion of Trinamool. So that is one part of the story. So, that we have to factor in separately to all these narratives, etc. And I always quote this, Rashid, you may be able to follow. I remember when Suhail was much younger, then he may not remember. When the left, the Naxals moved to Congress, the slogan was Chilam Nakshal, Holam Nobo, Chakri na pele abar hobo. Means, we were Naxals, we have become, it should be called Nabo Congress. So we become Nobo. And if we don't get jobs, we'll again become Naxals. And so you may have that cycle even now. They're saying Chilam Trinamool, Holam BJP, or something of that kind.
Will the Congress, this thing, right now we're against you, but we'll come back to you, the version of that in Bengali. Will the Congress adopt this kind of approach, Rashid?
Well, I think what Sandeep is suggesting, that you see the BJP is going to be the fourth, football club of Bengal. So will that happen? Basically, this election from the beginning has been this kind of some kind of cultural tussle. And on a more serious note, I see more. See, where is BJP facing resistance? BJP is facing resistance in has faced resistance in Tamil Nadu, in Punjab, in Maharashtra, the way the outcome of Maharashtra elections came, and in Bengal, where there was some streak of sub-nationalism. They are holding on to it. So this is very much a kind of cultural war that is taking place. Whether what Mr. Suhail said was suggesting that the kind of Bengali Bhadro culture, whether that stands, or this kind of the BJP's kind of muscular nationalism, primacy to religion, all these things take precedence over all these things. So that way, I'm saying it's a very interesting election. The BJP certainly thinks that God is not an Englishman. So very little scope for this kind of niceties that we are talking. Mr. Ghosh is talking, or Suhail is talking, because this is a PLU factor. The BJP over years has perfected this art of speaking in different languages. So there is a kind of WhatsApp university working overtime, describing Mamata Banerjee's this injury as something fake, nautanki, and Adir has also become part of it. And the others people are saying there is a more nuanced position and all. And Mr. Modi, let me tell you, if he wanted to do it, he would have done it. He is a what Mr. Advani had said, event manager. He would not do it behind the scene. So he would have been very open about it. He's not doing it because politically he thinks that this is not going to help him. So BJP has a way of fighting election. As I said, they have perfected this art, and they are going about in a very brazen manner.
He even feeds peacocks in a measured manner. I mean, even that is calibrated. The
Ghulam Nabi in Parliament
are exactly 1 minute so that they can be moved on WhatsApp without any editing. So, I don't think he's going to wait till the end of the year to ask her about her health.
And also look at this timing. He's going to end Bangladesh on the day of voting. He's headed over there. So he's got his whole thing very well planned, the master of the optics, which is why...
Don't forget the Himalayan cave with coat hooks. So, he is the master of timing. But sometimes even those masters get their timing wrong.
Is that it, Risula? How do you see the BJP campaign? Or is it just this whole, very hard battle against Mamata and take no prisoners, no sympathy?
It's going to be a take no prisoners thing. I'd like to, pull you back to 2016. BJP had managed to win Assam with a full majority, and they were like really cock-a-hoop about all of this. Jayalalitha was back in Tamil Nadu. Pinarayi had got majority in Kerala, and Mamata Banerjee was back in Kolkata. So there was a press conference. BJP was very happy that the one election in which they had skin in the game, they managed to win. So Amit Shah had said openly during the press conference that he had congratulated chief ministers of Tamil Nadu, he congratulated them, Tamil Nadu, Kolkata, of course, his own party people in Assam, Puducherry, Congress, whatever. And he just left out the LDF. So I raised my hand and I said, why have you left out the LDF? And he said that that is a political formation that led to the martyrdom of many of our party workers. And keeping in mind the sentiments of the families of our people who lost their loved ones, I will not extend my congratulations. So that is the kind of grudge match that this particular election is, because once all of this is done and the BJP shifted its eyes towards Bengal, you knew that they are in a take no prisoners kind of, they fight a maximum from the maximum position. Having said that, there are also niceties and things that that happen during an election, like in Bihar, I think in Bihar, JDU got its buntings and everything done, and both party workers got into a scrap. And, that made more news than the speech. And Prime Minister had to change his speech, modulate it, change it, refer to this incident and say, however much you attack us, we're going to come back. But the point was that you got him off his stride. He had a particular message he wanted to hammer home. So if you're trying to undermine this particular incident, that is a danger for the BJP. You have to think it over. You have to know how to recalibrate, how to come back to the game, because your position has now changed. So you have to think it through. You can't just say that she's faking it, and even Congress is saying she's faking it. So therefore, everybody agrees she's faking it. That's not how it's going to play out.
Point to what Nishala said. This issue needs immediate closure at the top echelons of the BJP. If this is allowed to drift, it will be a huge issue in the ensuing elections. So whatever they need to do, they need to bring it to closure so that this is not discussed and it's over and done with. It can't be a festering wound.
Which Mamata will try to make it that way. She would like to drag it.
Who wouldn't? I mean, any political, it's a political, you get a mileage out of it, apart from the...
If you look at Abhishek Banerjee's tweets, you know which way this is going as far as how the TMC is going to be playing it.
Right.
On that note, thank you all of you. In fact, I wanted to discuss the larger impact of this, but I think Bengal really took our mind space, and that is what everybody is talking about also. So maybe I'll have you all back again and see the larger impact of these elections on the national narrative. But that's it for now. Thank you so much, all of you, and all of you for watching this.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.